Before we begin, let's pay homage to His Holiness, Guru Grandmaster, Living Buddha莲生, all lineage masters, homage to all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Dharma protectors past, present, and future, in all the 10 directions, and pay homage to the Triple Jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Here I pray for the empowerment from His Holiness today so I can share His teachings with good, virtuous intention. May all sentient beings benefit from the ocean of wisdom, from the teaching of His Holiness, Guru Grandmaster, Living Buddha莲生. His Holiness, Grandmaster, Simu, all masters, reverends, senior reverends, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, directors of the temples and chapters, honored guests, and all the disciples here and those who are watching via internet. Good afternoon, greetings, Tashidare. I'm here to share the book of number 158, The Contemplation Under the Lonesome Light, with you today. Let's begin to explore together the wisdom of His Holiness by examining the book. This book is written sometimes between 2001 and 2002. It was the time when Grandmaster is in retreat. There are 88 chapters in this book. Each chapter has a merit and has precious teaching in itself. And because of the 40 plus minutes that I'm sharing with you today, now let's look at the chapters which I believe we can learn from each other for the teachings and are very helpful to apply in our daily lives. Before I read the following chapters, let us review the fundamental Buddhist teaching in general. There are 5 major precepts in Buddhist teachings. 1. Refrain from killing. One must be compassionate towards all beings and refrain from killings, as well as other living beings, as killing ourselves. A further manifestation of this commitment is to work for the freedom of captive animals. 2. Refraining from taking intoxicants, alcohol or illegal drugs. This means one must not become drunk or lose one's composure due to any illegal drugs or intoxicants. Number 3, refrain from committing adultery. All sexual relationships are considered illicit, except those between husband and wife. Number 4, refrain from engaging in double talk and gossip, slander. One must not tattle or make mischief with one's speech. To slander righteous people or the Dharma will result in the accumulation of unwholesome act of speech karma. Number 5, refrain from stealing. He or she must not take anything that does not belong to him or her. Now let's look at the preface, the chapter, the beginning of all the books. Preface, inner essence of life. Here we see Grandmaster had written a story in which he was in retreat. He passed along looking of his old inhabitants in Taiwan and realized that he remembered one of his doctor friends and he wants to make a trip to visit them. And there he reached his residence, his friends, doctor friends, in his old residence. And when he knocked on the door, he realized that they didn't come. It was only his son who answered the door. And where's Physician Tang? Grandmaster asked. And then he said, oh no, my father passed away. Oh, really? Grandmaster was kind of shocked because he's only about 50 years old when he died. So the parents are dead together, it says in the chapter, unpredictably. And he says, the young man asked Grandmaster, "Who are you, sir?" And the Grandmaster said, "I'm Xian Yan Lu." "Oh," his son replied, "I remember when my father mentioned about you. He said you went to the USA. At that time, we were very young, and we didn't know you, sir." And then he continued Grandmaster's books. And he was contemplating the impermanence of his friends. So at the end of the story, in the preface, he says, "What if I leave this world? What happens?" Then Grandmaster mentioned, disciples can answer this way. Grandmaster have left behind a pile of books, and the books contain many inner essence of life. The reason, remember, the situation is Grandmaster was in retreat, so not too many people have seen him, so he has to write these books to connect with the students so that he has some hope and also the teaching itself continuously. So the lesson here is to remind us that time is limited and we should learn the teaching as soon as possible. Let's look at chapter 3, Boredom. I know we are bored. Sometimes we are bored with life, we're bored of the eating, or bored of eating the same meal every day. So the chapter 3 has mentioned Grandmaster. Let's look at this book, this chapter. One of the disciples mentioned to Grandmaster, "Grandmaster, I'm bored." And then the book says, he complains about being bored every day. He goes to school, it's boring. Go to job is boring. Having a career is boring. Getting married and then having children are the most boring. And the Grandmaster says, life is boring too, even cultivating. A lot of people said to Grandmaster, "We repeat the practice every day. We got bored with the practice." Grandmasters have written that about that too. And then says, "Life is boring. Why live? It is a pity to die." Why is it a pity? Let's look at that chapter here. It says, Grandmaster explain further. The most important, says Grandmaster said, it dawned on Grandmaster, the sun and moon and the stars are always there. The mountains, the water, the grass all exist with a meaning. We exist with a meaning too. Everything in this world has its reason for existence. If people want to live a life without boredom, they must see the things behind the things they see. You see, hear the sounds beyond the sounds they hear. That's why we cultivate. That's why we practice. So, for example, the Grandmaster, and I underline this, the most important point, is that the discovery that life is boring will lead us to the diligent and zealous experience of life. Change your life a little bit. Meaningful. When life is finally understood, one will drive deeper into cultivation. One will be able to walk out this prison of boredom because one has superseded the ordinary to enter the holy stream. Thereby, holy stream means the consciousness of the universe, I think Grandmaster meant. So, speaking of prison or boredom, let's look at chapter 22. Chapter 22, the title is Earth is a Prison. We are here for a reason. I remember sometime Grandmaster had mentioned, we're here to pay back. We're here to live to pay back the debt that we have accumulated from previous lives. So here in this chapter 22, it's mentioned Earth is a prison. Somebody once said, Earth is a mental institution in the universe. Whoever has an unstable mental disposition is sent to Earth. So we are here, so let's ponder that for a minute. Therefore, countries on Earth are mentally unstable. People are mentally unstable. And societies are mentally unstable, too. According to the analysis of psychologists and psychotherapies, just about everyone has mental obstructions in one form or another. But the symptoms are not prominent in most people. Some people feel oppressed. Some are depressed. Some doesn't talk about it. And some are impatient. And some are emotionally unstable. In fact, there's some basis to calling the Earth the biggest mental institution. This is an era of unhappiness. The young, the middle-aged, the old are all depressed and worried. They all have emotional problems. Everyone's body, mind, and soul are in trouble. In Grandmaster's book says, in my opinion, I consider the Earth a prison of the universe. Anyone with karma is sent to Earth for punishment or payback. Coming this world is to experience suffering, birth, aging, sickness, eventually death, separation from loved ones, meeting with the hateful, yearning for someone or something, and the 5 aggregates. This human planet has the most worries and has most impermanence, and is the least happy, the filthiest, and the darkest place. Just think for a moment. The realms of hell, hungry ghosts, and animals are called the 3 lower paths. And on this human planet, we see that hospitals are basically hell. Some are living in hell, like hungry ghosts, and some of them are living very unhappy. And only way to do that, according to the Siddhigarbha Sutra, the deeds and thoughts of sentient beings of our world constantly cause transgressions and create a negative karma and sins. Every thought, every action has a karma. Human beings come with inherent karma and sins, and ignorance is the root of sin. The person with bad karma will be punished. Therefore, it makes sense that Earth is a prison, according to the teaching of the Grandmaster. However, the main point is, we cultivators must cut through our delusions and realize the truth, supersedes the ordinary, and enter supreme holy stream. And the minimum that Grandmaster said, we need to practice the 5 precepts, and the 10 virtues in order to be released of this prison. That's the reason I mentioned the 5 precepts. Now I want to share with you the 10 virtues. The 10 virtues are divided into 3 major categories. One of them is physical. The second of them is verbal. The third will be mental. Physically, we are prohibited from killing, stealing, and engaging in sexual misconducts. Verbally, we are prohibited from using false speech, harsh speech, divisive speech, and enticing speech. And mentally, we are prohibited from giving rise to thoughts of greed, anger, and ignorance. So the 10 virtues are: number 1, I vow not to kill, and I will revere all life. That's the first virtue. Second, I vow not to steal, and I will understand that to take anything from anyone without permission is wrong. Third, I vow not to engage in sexual misconduct or any sensual indulgence, and I will develop the mind of self-restraint and purity. Fourth, I vow not to use false speech, and I will speak the truth at the right time and any time. 5. I vow not to use harsh speech, and I will speak words that benefit others and bring peace. 6. I vow not to use divisive speech, and I will speak the words that foster harmony. 7. I vow not to use enticing speech, and I will speak sincerely and truthfully. 8. I vow to refrain from greed, and I will open my heart and be generous. 9. I vow to refrain from anger, and I will see the suffering of others and practice patience. 10. I vow to refrain from ignorance, and I will calm my mind to uncover my wisdom. So by practicing 10 virtues, we can escape from this earth as a prison. My Grandmaster have also taught us the true Buddha sadhana. So not only we can leave this prison earth, but we can also merge with the Buddha. That's why Grandmasters have asked us to practice every day, not to be imprisoned, to free from any harms, free from any mental blockage, free from any kinds of karma. Because the true Buddha sadhana will help us to become one with the Holy Stream, to merge with the Buddha. The mudra, visualization, yantra, and then the mantra would be the mouth, the speech purification, the mental purification, and then the mudra, physical purification. By using those implements, by using this teaching, one can relieve from this prison of earth and we merge with the Buddha. And that's the most important lesson, I think, why Grandmaster have said many times to practice diligently. And let's look at chapter 28. Now, besides walking meditation, has Grandmaster always do his walking meditation? Because in doing retreat, he doesn't have the consultation every day that we can Grandmaster to help us in, except Sunday. I know Monday to Saturday, Grandmaster in the temple by about 1:30 or so have helped us, many disciples, to answer many questions about our lives. So during the retreat, he was doing meditation. But here's the reason I want to mention this chapter, we can see later on, is that during his retreat, he was a little hurt. My body, mind are constantly under strict discipline. You see, this is by example. During the retreat, he was doing that. So imagine we should all do that in our own free time. Sometimes my life was so disciplined that I decided to go for walking cultivation. Basically, it's just walking around, meditating on the Buddha, chanting either openly or mentally the chant or the Buddha's name. And in so doing, he's in focus, concentrated. So he was teaching us walking meditation is walking while keeping thoughts from going astray. One must be careful not to let the mind from charging out and flying into some other places. And believe us, when we do our meditation, do the cultivation, we cannot focus about 1 hour or 2 hours or however long you practice yourself. Our minds always go astray. We all know that from experiences. The grandmas have taught us that your mind goes astray, that's okay, but don't dwell on the thoughts that you have. Let it pass. It's like watching a movie. But you are the observant instead of participant. By not attaching to the results, you're able to concentrate. Grandmasters always said that, just like going to a museum, looking at pictures, and you have no idea what it means, but yet you should look at it and to let it go. And that only means, I think, from experience, I just do the same thing too. Just focus to a point that you tend to go to sleep, but you're not sleeping. You know what I'm saying? I think you have experienced once a while from that experience. Not every day you experience it, but once you experience it, the time flies so fast. And then when you come out of meditation, oh, is it already 20 minutes? Your mind says, oh, I just stop and then think about it. It's 20 minutes later when you look at the watch. So from experience that I want to share that with you. So continuing, on the way back, I passed by a big tree and saw an old woman hugging her stomach and says in pain. But Grandma says, I want just my focus. But the thing is, he didn't do that. He continued. He says, I want to help this lady. That, you know what? This is showing Grandmaster's compassion. Even when he was doing his homework, he was helping other people. He never forgave any one of us, even during his retreat. I think that is a sign of Buddha. No matter what he is, where he is, he's constantly helping every one of us. So therefore, I want to mention this chapter 28. It's a sign that he was always helping all the people at all the time. So going back to the middle paragraph, he visualized a golden mother blessed with this ordinary water, and it becomes a holy water. And then the old woman drank the water and felt relieved. Every one of us, have experienced the power of Buddha. I think on each and every one of us up here. If not, then I'm sure eventually you have that experience from His Holiness Grandmaster. It helped many people, and this chapter helped that lady. And once he helped us, he mentioned at the end, there's no need for self-reproach. Now I know and I do walking meditation all the time because Grandmaster had never left us. He's always cared for us, always think of us. That's the reason I want to use this chapter. And I always remember, every one of us should always remember Grandmaster at all times. This story, again, I believe, is the teaching of his selfless act of His Holiness Grandmaster. The story told us His Holiness is helping everyone at any given time. His practice during his retreat years have not slacked off, and he helps anyone at any time. This is one of the qualities of Buddhahood, and we should learn from him. And then we have a chapter 60. The 4 major characteristics of Buddhism. Someone asked me in the past, this is his teaching, Grandmaster, Master Lu, all your life we have encountered oppression from every direction, suffering in hundreds of ways, and have been tortured close to death. How can you remain standing in the midst of such storm of troubles? Grandmaster replied, no other reason except that I kept Satyamuni's wisdom in my heart. He explained, Sakyamuni showed the various phenomena of life all share 4 common characteristics. First, the characteristics of suffering has been pointed out, the first of the 4 noble truths. the truth of suffering. Our existence is suffering. We are born to suffer. That's something we accept, we all know every day. Sickness, old age, eventually death. The past contains causes of suffering which result in the effect of suffering of this life. All casual conditions give rise to the cause and effects of suffering. The coexistence of those in close successions beings about suffering. Consequently, suffering is a normal occurrence of life. We all accept that. The second characteristic is the emptiness, according to Ten Thai sect. The truth of emptiness. When Sakyamuni was expounding on the Paramita Sutra, he explained exactly why all phenomena are devoid of inherent consistence. All phenomena are devoid of substantial attributes. Therefore, the truth of emptiness is the door of liberation. Because of emptiness, we are able to liberate ourselves from suffering. Consider all suffering to be nothing but emptiness. The third characteristic is impermanence. There are two kinds of impermanence. The impermanence of thoughts and the impermanence of continuity. The impermanence of thoughts means that Dharma would intend produce continuously arising and ceasings of thoughts. That's the reason we always remember when we do meditation, our thoughts rise and our thoughts cease to exist. That's impermanence in a way. So when we do meditation, we think of impermanence. And then by letting go, we're able to get. I know it kind of sounds paradox, but there's only way to do so. The impermanence of continuity means that after a period of time, all phenomena ultimately ended. It ends. Worries and sufferings which mutate back and forth in a dance of impermanence eventually dissolve. Fourth, the characteristics of egolessness or egoness. All phenomena devoid of self. When you have all the suffering because of self, my car get damaged, my house is broken up, my body is aching, my, it's all broken up. That's it characteristics of ego. By egoness means no self, you're able to attach the suffering. So one of the Dharma views of Sakyamuni's teaching is egoless. There's absolutely no true self. Who are you? Who am I? If my thoughts is egoless, then I forget about myself. I'm able to liberate myself from all worries and pain. Because worries and pain are formless and lack attributes, since I contemplated on those four major characteristics. That's now. He says, I meditate on it. I contemplate on it. That's the reason this book is Contemplation and the Lonely Light. I remain steady. I remain balanced. I remain in oneself. The true Buddha teaching. Attain the wisdom of Buddhahood. I conquer nothing but my own worries and suffering. That's the reason I live for the moment. Having attained wisdom, nothing matters anymore. I know it's easy said than done, but sometimes when you really work on your own salvation, you have to really know what to do by learning from the teaching of His Holiness, Grand Master. Apply that every day in your life, and you live in a happier person. I think so. It helped me. Now, go to chapter 6. Some more time. The thought of suicide. I know it's kind of morbid today talking about it, it's kind of gloomy, but by talking about it, you're able to bring light to the subject. I think that's an important lesson to be learned. Let's look at chapter 6. I was asked once, Grandmaster Lu, please tell me the truth. Have you ever thought of committing suicide? And Grandma said, reply, yes. When he was in 6th grade, he said, I committed, in fact, attempted to commit suicide. I said, oh no, the disciple have responded, was shocked. And reveal more, my brother also committed suicide by drinking potassium hydroxide. Explained that already. So a lot of people didn't know that, but Grandmaster said his own family had done that. So in his many books, I remember, he mentioned commit suicide. And that's a no-no. Remember that, as is mentioned, killing self or killing anything is a major sin in Buddhist teaching. So let's go back. Fortunately, for most people, thought of killing self is immediately eradicated by reason. And then Grandma says mention again, for the Buddhist teaching, after a suicide, go to that phrase, it's very hard for the soul to be delivered because it violates the first and the 5 precepts. Abstaining from killing, which results in very heavy negative karma. Even if these souls are able to cleanse all the karma and reincarnate as human beings, they either became handicapped with blindness, deafness, or mental problems, and they become people with incomplete brains, hands, legs, and people live in immense pain. So let's not do that in the future, or even for that, even think about it. So the advice Grandmaster mentioned, the Buddha taught us the parameter of tolerance. After practicing tolerance, you can reach the other shore. If you die, not even hope remains. So therefore, it is wise not to do that. The lesson of this chapter is to remind us there is hope and happiness down the road. For everyone who's being bullied by his or her peers, simply because you are different, or for anyone else who feels that it's the end of the world, please seek counselor and seek professional help. There are hotlines in the internet, and there are schools and government services which are readily available to anyone who's seeking help. Don't hesitate to ask. This is your life. Own it. Enjoy it. In summary, I choose this book to share with you because there are much information regarding the teaching Buddha and His Holiness. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Grandmaster for accepting me as his disciple. If I hadn't taken refuge, I would be lost, not even happy. I'm not able to follow the spiritual steps of Buddhahood, about truth, about life in general. I'm so happy every day in the 25 years I've been taking refuge in His Holiness Grandmaster. And to whoever is out there who has not been taking refuge, do it soon. Do it right away. You will forever be happy and to make this decision. I give thanks to His Holiness, lineage masters, Golden Mother, all Buddhists, Bodhisattvas, and Dharma protectors everywhere in the past, present, and future for the continuing blessing. I give thanks to whoever offer me donations, moral support, advice, and all kinds of help, positive or negative, in my spiritual path. I give thanks to all the volunteers who have made this today's sharing His Holiness books 150 possible. Please support www.tbboyeh.org by volunteering and by donation. May all merits be dedicated to His Holiness Grand Master for his continuous staying in this Sahara role forever, turning the Dharma wheel continuously, and live with great health and longevity. Om Guru Ren Sansidiyam. Om Mani Padme Hum. Thank you, everyone.